can start.
Yes.
Yes, Deepa, you can start now.
A pleasant morning, one and all. On behalf of Department of English, Congo Arts and Science College, we welcome you for this guest lecture entitled Practical Life Lessons from Literature.
Prayer. Prayer is the nearest approach to God. Sometimes all it takes is just one prayer to change everything. So let us begin this ceremony by seeking the blessing of the Lord Almighty with a prayer song. I now request Gunamita of 2nd BA English Literature to grace this occasion with a prayer song.
गणनायकाय गणदेवताय गणाध्यक्षाय धीमहि गुणशरीराय गुणमण्डिताय गुणेशानाय धीमहि गुणाधीताय गुणाधीशाय गुणप्रविष्टाय धीमहि एकदन्ताय वक्रतुण्डाय गौरी धनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय बालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि एकदन्ताय वक्रतुण्डाय गौरी धनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय बालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि गानचतुराय गानप्राणाय गानान्तरात्मने गानोत्सुकाय गानमत्ताय गानोत्सुकमनसे गुरुपूजिताय गुरुदेवताय गुरुकुलस्थायिने गुरुविक्रमाय कुह्यप्रवराय गुरवे गुणगुरवे गुरुदैत्यकलक्षेत्रे गुरुधर्मसदाराध्याय गुरुपुत्र परित्रात्रे गुरुपाखण्डकण्डकाय गीतसाराय गीततत्त्वाय गीतकोत्राय धीमहि गोदगुल्फाय कन्दमत्ताय गोजयप्रताय धीमहि गुणाधीताय गुणाधीशाय गुणप्रविष्टाय धीमहि एकदन्ताय वक्रतुण्डाय गौरी धनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय बालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि एकदन्ताय वक्रतुण्डाय गौरी धनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय बालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि.
Thank you, Gunamita. Small cheers and great welcome makes a merry feast. It's a glad welcome we bring to you this morning, filled with the desires, the hope, and the dream we all share. I now invite T. Prabhu of 2nd MA English Literature to deliver a welcome address.
A dream written down with a date becomes a goal. A goal broken down into a steps become a plan. A plan backed by action makes your dreams come true. Happy morning to one and all. A warm word of your welcome to everyone with my immense pleasure. If your action inspires to others to dream more, do more, learn more, and become more, you are a leader. I cordially welcomes our honorable correspondent, Thiru K. Palanisamy sir. Welcome you, sir. Your dedication and direction has put fire on our souls. You have inspired us to do the best to reach our goals. I extend my warm welcome to our respected principal, Dr. N. Raman sir. Welcome you, sir. Being one is the best, highest privilege. Having one is the best blessing. I wholeheartedly welcome our honorable chief guest, Mr. D. Ronald Hadrin. Sir, welcome you, sir. Our inspiration, soul of guidance, friendship, and discipline in one person. A gracious welcome to our head of the department, Miss Yasmin ma'am. Welcome you, ma'am. The tiny seed grows into a tree. Its roots so strong and secure. The seeds you have planted in each young mind will prosper and endure. I extended my warm welcome to our department member of faculties. Encourage minds to think, hands to create, heart to love. An amicable welcome to my fellow friends. Once again, I wholeheartedly welcome you all.
The fragrance of flowers spread only in the direction of the wind, but the goodness of person spreads in all directions. I now invite Years University of Second MA English Literature to give Chief Guest introduction.
I am profusely overjoyed to take the opportunity to introduce our chief guest, Mr. D. Ronald Hadrin, Assistant Professor in English at Karpagam Academy of Higher Education, Coimbatore. Our chief guest has completed his undergraduation in English Literature with distinction in Nanda Arts and Science College, Erode. Gleefully, I noticed that he has completed his master's degree in English Literature in our esteemed institution, Congo Arts and Science College, Erode. He has completed his Bachelor of Education at St. Mary's College of Education, Andiur, and he is pursuing PhD in Nirmala College for Women, Coimbatore. He has qualified in UGC NET in the year 2016. He also won Best Student of College Award in the year 2013 and Student of the Department Award in the year 2015. He worked as a coordinator in Royal Academy of Communicative English, Bangalore for 3 years. It is noteworthy our chief guest has published 4 novels entitled Heroine, the Dark Blood in the year 2008, Rosaline, I Love You, but Don't Tell Your Dad in the year 2012, Eve's Tomb in the year 2013, Area of an Eccentric Utian in the year 2019. He has been invited as resource person for various events in reputed institutions like PSG College of Arts and Science, Nirmala College for Women, etc. He has conducted faculty training programs in various schools in and around Erode. It's my pleasure to have
I thank the HOD ma'am, all the teachers, everyone for inviting me over. And today I'm going to talk about something which is very practical. Whenever we talk about literature, right, we think we have to talk about theory or something. Yes, they're all important, but sometimes we need life lessons as well. So that's what I'm going to say. But as I am sharing my screen, so I just want you to just tell me if my screen is visible. I hope it's visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I hope everyone is doing well. So first question that I want to ask you all is that, how are you guys? You can just put in the chat box because I don't feel like lecturing completely one-sided. That's just not what we do here. I want it to be as interactive as possible. So if you guys are doing great, awesome. What about other people? Superb. Because if we are all, we have to do things differently, right? We are not this mundane, boring kind of people. We're not. We're cool people. So it's nice to see that some are fine, some are awesome, some are fantabulous. It's nice. So, yeah, guys, thank you so much. I see your class. Now, today the topic is practical life lessons from literature. Now, I'm going to give you a pop quiz. I know you're going to college every day, and you're going to online classes. But I feel sad for you guys. College is the greatest thing ever in our life, right? And you should go to college. That's apart from classes, friends, the place, the library. Those things are the greatest joys of our life, right? And what is literature? Can anybody tell me what is literature? Can you put the answers in the chat box? Because obviously, 5 years of it, and right in the first year, they would have told you what is literature. They would have given you a definition. I'm sure they did. Can anyone put it in the chat box? What do you think literature is? Yes, very good. Literature is a reflection of life. Wonderful. Any other definitions for that? Any other, your own understanding of literature as such? Okay, so let's just start with that definition, right? This literature is a way to enjoy simplest things in life. Very good, Kameshwaran. Just like a mirror. Yes. So usually this is the cliche answer. Whenever a professor teaches, they just put in a simple line like it's a reflection of life, it's a mirror of life, all these things. But when you deeply think about it, it's not so simple. Okay, literature is something which is more than that. But of course, that would be a separate lecture as such. If you're going to talk about theory, but that is not the scope of here. Today, we want to make it as practical as possible. Okay. If we are telling history and time with emotions, that would be a wonderful definition. We can consider that. Now, if we take the definition that literature is reflection of life, then it should talk about life, right? And in the same way, if I read literature, I should learn about life. Do you agree? If we just see life and write literature, then while I'm reading a work, while I'm reading a poem, I should learn about life. So that vice versa, right? So from that point of view, from that definition, I'm starting this. Okay. So we're going to talk about 5-6 lessons out here, and it's not something I thought on my own. I came across a book called Poetry Pharmacy. Okay, this wonderful book called Poetry Pharmacy. There's this guy. He's prescribing poetry to people for different problems. Like if they are depressed, read a poem. If you are happy, read this. If you are anxious, read this. So actually, they are using literature as therapy. Okay? So I'm trying to come from that point of view. If you'll all stay with me. Now, the first thing that I want to ask you guys is that, okay, where does all these things come from? Where does all these ideas come from? Where do they all come from? Can anybody guess where do all these things come from? Of course, we have already said literature is reflecting life. So from literature, we can learn about life. But everything, basically, it's a human nature, right? What I think, the surrounding, everything I put it in the book, I put it as literature. Somebody reads that, and this culture keeps on continuing. So our basic idea is, where do they all come from? It's actually come from our own self. Okay, how we are as human beings. Now, there are more things, but I think it will be out of scope. We will get into our topic as such. Okay. Now, Philip Sidney, you would have heard about him if you guys are doing your second semester of your college, history of English literature. You would have started to recognize him, and MA, you would have read his defense against poetry and all these things, right? Philip Sidney, he said this wonderful definition. He said, poetry, a speaking picture, teach and delight. What a wonderful definition. So we can give so many. Wordsworth was telling like spontaneous overflow of powerful emotions recollected in tranquility and all these things about poetry. But here is the definition of poetry. Philip Sidney is saying poetry, it's a speaking picture to teach and delight. Now, that is what I'm going to do. Usually, we only perceive delightfulness. Okay? How many of you guys, as you're all young people, how many of you guys, when you're sad, tend to put sad text or status in your mobile phone? How many of you guys do that? Be honest. I'm not. No teacher is going to tell anything about that. Okay, we're all just friends. Can I see it in the chat box? How many of you listen to sad music? Put sad status while you're sad? Anything? Or you're happy? You put happy status? Doesn't matter. Should not be only negative, right? Can I see some answers? Chat box. Or you can just unmute the conference. Anyone? I think then I should continue assuming that you all do this, because usually we all do this. Yes, Rameshwaran is agreeing. Like, yes, sir, emotions tend to flow in form of positive status. Yes, that's true. Okay. So basically, when our emotions are directly connected to words, we tend to somehow we want to express what we feel. We put it as songs, we put it as words. Even though we can't do it from our own words, we actually rob a status and put these things. This is usually the modern age, but the feelings have been the same for over centuries. The modern way of telling it is different, but it's always the same. Now, we have been worried about emotional part alone, but what about the lessons? Literature as a lesson. That is our topic, right? We always tend to think, okay, this story, this love story is making me happy. This poem is making me super sad. Or this is giving me such an energy or something. We have focused on emotions and emotions. But what about the didactic process? Didactic is like, what do they teach us? Okay, what is the ultimate purpose of literature? Do you think writing an epic love story would be considered as a great thing? Or writing a book like a revolutionary book which causes independence of a nation? I think that I would merit that book better than great love stories, right? Because it did something, it saved some people. From that point of view, we are going. So we are seeing literature as a teacher. Okay, literature should teach us. Now, so if you agree that from literature, I learn things, I can learn things, and it can always teach us. So we are going to see some works which can actually teach us some practical life lessons. There are many things, but for our time, we have shortened it, and I have put important things for young people like you. You should follow these things. Usually, your professor, somebody might not have the time to tell these things. So I'm just trying to fill that gap. Okay. Okay. So now, does anyone know what you mean by carpe diem? This is a Latin sentiment. What do you mean by carpe diem? Yes, very good. Good picture has answered. Live in the present. Okay. In our context, how many of you guys, okay, you start like, today should be the best day of my life. Today I'll be very happy. Today I'll achieve whatever goals I set. How many of you guys woke up with such a mentality today? I hardly think anyone did, right? Because usually we don't do that. But if you ask a cancer patient or anybody who is terminally ill, for them a day is very, very important. For them, that particular moment is so important. Literature has been teaching, religions have been teaching this concept for a long time. Carpe diem is seize the day, hold on to it, do whatever you can on that day. Let it be the best thing. Because, very simply put, we cannot change the past, nor can we change our future. So, this talk, this idea is not only found in literature, it's almost relevant in religious forms. It's also relevant in self-help form. If you read non-fiction books like How to Make Friends, How to Not Worry by all Dale Carnegie and all, they have used these ideas again and again. For example, in Dale Carnegie's book, How Not to Worry, this is the first thing he talks about. If you are worried kind of person, if you're a depressed kind of person, what is the best thing to do? The best thing to do is to focus on that day alone. He calls it day-type compartments. That day you focus. Don't worry about tomorrow, don't worry about anything. Today, what can I do best? Right, stay with my family, I should be happy, I should try to reach a goal. If you can focus on that, the small wins adds up, and one day you become very happy and successful. Okay, so that is the basic idea. As you can see, this idea is not only in literature, but it's almost everywhere. Okay, one example I have taken from literature, which is precisely carpe diem. Okay, that is Henry Wadsworth Longfellow wrote this amazing poem. This is one of my favorites. It's actually the most best poem for me. It has helped me in many times, like during my downtimes and all the things, right? It's one of the best poems. I wish people memorize this and kept it. Okay, because this is like a super awesome poem and everybody should read it. Now, Psalm of Life. Yeah, can you see? Psalm is a song. Psalm means it's a song. So Song of Life. So it's just telling you how to lead life. This poem, I've not put in the entire verse, but I have taken out what's very important. Now he starts this wonderfully. He says, like, tell me not in mournful numbers, life is but an empty dream. For the soul is dead that slumbers, and things are not what they seem. Now, can you see? He starts by telling that, don't complain to me. Okay, everybody says my life is sad. I can't achieve things. I am failure. He's telling, look, shoot, stop complaining. Tell me not in mournful numbers. Life is but an empty dream. Don't tell me this reason that life is an empty dream. Okay? For the soul is dead that slumbers, and things are not what you see. If your soul is dead, then everything seems bad. Okay, then life is real. Life is earnest. He's telling, look, you have been put on earth for a purpose. Of course, if you are real, you're going to feel pain, you're going to feel happiness, everything is going to be real. We are not dumb, driven people. Okay, we are all real. So obviously, if we are real, this is reality, then we have problems, we have to overcome them. Everything is not going to go as planned. Okay, we are not stock animals, we are not programmed, we are not a game, we are totally real. Even God, He has given us free moral agency. That is, whatever you choose, even God can't stop you from doing it. That's what gives us power. If you have decided something, you are always free to do that. Okay, that's called free moral agency. So he's telling, life is real, life is earnest, and the grave is not its goal. Now you should always remember, right? We always think one day we're gonna die, but that doesn't need to be the goal. Dust to art, to dust to return was not spoken of. Okay, now all these ideas he's building up and coming, but my emphasis is on the third stanza that talks about not enjoyment and not sorrow. Now listen to that wonderfully. He's telling not enjoyment and not sorrow is a destined end of way. He's telling, look, we are always, as Aristotle pointed out, we are goal-setting organisms. We are always looking forward. And here, to young people like you, this should be a revelation. Okay, when you are in school, how many of, your parents or teachers lied to you this? They would have lied that, hey, 10th standard alone, you study well, then you will be happy. How many of your parents told this lie to you this? You study well, you score well, then you can be happy after 12th. Okay, how many of them said? Obviously, they would say in 10th, they would say this. Look, guys, study well now, then afterwards you can be happy. 12th standard, my principal used to give like wonderful lines. He used to say, short suffering, long enjoyment. But actually, even that is not right. And then you come to college. Of course, there's a part of enjoyment and all these things, but still you need to study, still you need to focus. Your career is starting, you need to get a job, and then we go to a job. Do you think the problem solves there? Of course not. We are always in a hierarchy, right? We are always afraid of somebody. We need to get things done. As Foucault said, we are in power struggle, right? So look at that wonderful line. Not enjoyment and not sorrow. Look, we are always thinking tomorrow will be better. We are always, someday I will do this. Someday I'll be happy. But that is totally a lie. In reality, it doesn't happen at all. If you're thinking, like, I will finish this college, then I'll be happy. I will finish this work. I will work 10 years, then I'll be happy. I will do something. No, you're never going to do that. This is not a destined end or way. But look at the last two lines. But to act. What is our work? What is our work? But to act. That each tomorrow find us farther than today. So he's giving this answer. Look, tomorrow, sorrow, they're all a myth. It doesn't happen. Okay. But today is the only thing that is given to you. So do something. Take one step at least. But be so sure that you have improved yourself in some way. At least one step you have taken. At least one seed you have planted. Because if you had planted now, after some years, you have grown. But we have not taken action itself, nothing would have happened. So the first thing that you should do is act on that day, focus on that day, and don't worry about anything else. Because tomorrow will take care of it tomorrow. Now, here are two philosophies here from this small literary poem work. Stoic philosophy and biblical philosophy, and almost every religious philosophy is here. So if you talk about Hinduism philosophically, where Vivekananda would have said, do not worry about labor. Worry about the labor alone. Do not worry about what you're going to get out of it. All these philosophies are commonly tied together, right? Stoic philosophy is what the Romans follow. They say, like, okay, today I'll do work. I'll not get attached to anything. I'll do my best. For example, in Marcus Aurelius' work, the book's name is Meditations, right? He talks this beautiful thing. He says, like, look, guys, every day you wake up, look at this, look at the birds. They think they have work and they do it, but we are still sleeping. How is that possible? Naturally, we are not supposed to do it. So that's their philosophy. Stoic philosophy is do your best today. The biblical philosophy is very simple. Jesus is giving a sermon and he's telling, look at the sparrows, look at all these things. Then he says, each day will worry about itself. Okay? Don't try to pull tomorrow's cloud today. That's the basic point. Today, do your best, give it your best shot, and do it. And this one is also, it will also build emotional intelligence as such. If you keep on worrying about things, how will you enjoy the life? If you think tomorrow it might be bad, what will happen? Then today you're losing all happiness, right? Stress will increase, all kinds of problems will come. So, the simplest philosophy they're given is, guys, just worry for the day, because tomorrow will take care of itself. So from this poem, from this little piece, I learned a lot. Okay, actually, I joined an engineering college, and this is the poem which said like follow my passion. Because in this poem there was a line called like don't be dumb driven cattle, be a hero in the strife. So that just caught my eyes. It's just like, hey, I cannot follow like what other people are doing. I should do what I love. I'm not a teacher. I'm passionate about it. I love to talk about these things. So I'm gonna do that. Okay, I don't want to learn about circuits. I'm not telling that's bad. Follow your passion. Okay. So that is the idea. From this little piece, this is what it taught me, and this is what we can all learn. That do our best each day and to do the best every day and not to worry about our past or our future. But today, the idea is to do something extra today. That's very important. Don't just be in a platform. You should always understand it clearly. Be wise. Whenever you talk about literature and lessons from literature, you should learn it, apply it. Okay? It's not learning and sleeping. You should learn and walk. So that's the main idea. Okay, I hope it's all clear, the first one. So let's get to the second one. It's called grit. Okay. If simple question to you guys, if a mathematics sum was given to you, a puzzle or something, it's kind of a difficult problem. How many tries will you make to get the answer? How many tries will you? How many shots will you take? Can I see your answer in the chat box? Anything for the matter. Rameshwaran is telling 4 to 5. Very good. That shows something about your character. Okay, so will anybody after one time or two times say no, I'm giving up? Is anybody like that? After just once or twice, just giving up? Some people are there. Okay, most probably. So let's talk about grit. The first point that I focused was focus on the day. That's carpe diem. Second is grit. Grit in sense is the courage and resolve, strength of character. So some people, no matter whatever problems come, they will stand and fight it. They have this strong character that nothing could take it from them. Okay, so that's called grit. And young people should all have grit. Okay, if you don't have grit, it will be very difficult to survive thereafter. And in our culture right now, we make soft beds for everybody. Okay, the hardness is gone. People have become soft emotionally. Have you noticed in olden days, only the winner would get a certificate, right? If you won parents choir, they would give you a certificate. You won, okay? But nowadays, they have become, they think children can't even stand failure, that they give them participation certificates. A psychologist was talking about that. He was telling, you're making kids like feel that they're entitled for some things. Okay, they don't even learn about failure. They don't know what failure means. Just for taking part in something, giving it, what is the difference between the winner and him? Okay, he doesn't even learn about failure. So when they go up, when they go to a business, any loss comes, emotionally they are not ready for it. So another lesson that you all should learn is grit. And there's a wonderful poem in literature which teaches this. Okay, it inspires me a lot. I want to share this with you guys. It's called Invictus. It's one of my favorite poems. Invictus is, it means in Latin, it means unconquerable. Okay, Invictus means unconquerable. Nobody can conquer. Like, okay. So I want to tell something. Do you think when I read a poem, I should also know the biography or not? When I read a poem, should I know about the author and what was his life about? Do you agree with that, or should we just focus on the text? What do you think? Yes. Okay. Of course, we need to know at a certain level, unless and until you are politically new criticism follower who just focuses on text. Okay. Now, Invictus means unconfident. I'm not going to go into the entire poem, but certain things I want to point out. It was written by William E. Henley. Henley had a rare form of tuberculosis. He was not a very active kid. He had to suffer a lot. He had many health issues. So his whole life, he couldn't enjoy it like a normal person. There were so many things that we had to go through. There were so many things happening. Yes. Focusing on an author gives additional information. Of course it does. Right? So, in his saddest times, like when he was very sad, he just wanted to motivate himself. And that's when he wrote this wonderful poem called Invictus. Okay? It is a reminder to himself not to bend when problems. Now, and on a side note, Winston Churchill, Nelson Mandela, some great people, Morgan Freeman, some great people had memorized this poem. Okay, and I would really suggest you guys that you keep it in your head, not just on a paper, because this will help you in rough times. So it goes like this. Out of the night that covers me, black as a pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced, not cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears, looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishment the spread. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. That gives me goosebumps. Okay, so let me just tell it in short form, right? So, out of the night that covers me, his whole life has been covered. Here, night refers to all the problems and all these things. From blackest pit, from pole to pole, from south pole to north pole, my whole life is covered with problems. I don't know what to do, but I'm thanking God. Look, I know I have so many problems, but I'm thanking God for one thing. I don't know which God. So he's telling whatever small g, it's never capital G, it's whatever gods may be. I don't know which God, but I'm thanking whoever it is. I'm thanking for what? For my Invictus soul. Invictus is unconquerable soul. Okay, this soul that God had put inside me, it never gives up. Your soul might reference to your thoughts. That is, your thoughts never die in a certain sense. Okay? In the fell clutch of circumstance, there are many problems. Of course, whole circumstance. We all say, no, this all my kids are. This is why I'm here. This all my problems are. But he's telling, I have not winced nor cried aloud. I have not cried. Okay, under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Look at that line wonderfully. He's telling many problems had come. My head itself is bloody like a boxing match. Life has hit him hard again and again, but he had not bowed down to it. Right? That shows grit. How many ever problems come, how many ever failures come, how many ever things go wrong, I will not bow down. That's an awesome thing, right? Beyond this place of wrath and tears, moves with the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of years finds and shall find me unafraid. So how many ever years go, how many ever things, when life sees me, I am unafraid, I am not worth. But the ending is the most important thing in this point. It matters not how straight the game, how charged with punishments the scroll. Okay, no matter how difficult my life gets, how many people mock at me, how many people think I can't succeed, how many other people think I waste, how many other people think I can't do things, that our life gives me problems after problems, people die, death happens in the family, I lose my loved ones, I lose my job, everything, anything can go wrong in life, right? But he's telling, no matter how charged with punishments the scroll, even if God had written such a horrible, problematic life to me, but he's challenging. He's telling like, I am the master of my fate. Look, don't tell me fate has put me down here. Don't tell me that this. We all tend to say, this is my fate, this is my fate. But no, no, no. I am not a slave of fate, but I am the master of my fate. And he's also saying, I am the captain of my soul. Okay, who's captain? I am the captain. So that is called Invictus. So this shows grit. His whole life was like that. No matter how many problems came, he kept reading it. It gave him energy. So even Winston Churchill during the wartime, it was a terrible time when Nazis were taking over, but it motivated them. Nelson Mandela, and he was in the jail fighting for the apathy. He kept reading this, bringing energy to him, right? So I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. So usually, if it's a live session, I would have asked you to memorize at least the first 4 lines and the last 2 lines, and I've asked you to recite it. But as we are in an online session, it's not a problem. But still, I would be really happy if you can go memorize it and you can tell it to your teachers. Keep it close to your heart. Okay, it will always help you. Whenever problems come, you can keep on telling it, I am the master of my fate and captain of my soul. What a beautiful, right? So, are you all Invictus? Are you all Invictus or not? You understood? We can move on to the next one. Can I see some answers in the chat box, guys? Yes. So I know Kong students are all Invictus. Nothing will pull them down. They're gonna fight. They're gonna win. Okay. Now, let's get into we have seen Apodium. We have seen grit. The next one is, of course, the journey can never be easy, right? Of course, when you start something, you start a business, you start anything in life, it's never easy. Because if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, right? But it's never easy. So the journey is never easy. For this, I have taken some poetry. So now we are going to an epic. So pop question for you guys. So can you name some of the best great epics in English literature or European literature generally? Any epic literatures, you know? So Paradise Lost, Paradise Regained, all these works are there. And one of my favorite epic is Iliad and Odyssey. So that's what we're going to see now. The journey is never easy. So let's talk about my next best epic as well as a poem. Okay, you would have read this. So Ulysses, Lord Tennyson. Of course, I had this during my UG time. I really quite didn't understand what it was all about then, but after growing up a little, after some time reading this, I thought like, oh my God, I didn't understand it then. And when I had Bloom, I saw a lecture in which he was talking about this. He's 96 years old, and he had memorized this entire work, and he was reciting this work. That was like inspiring me a lot. Now, just as a backdrop, we're talking about Ulysses. Ulysses is the king from Ithaca. He had gone to help his friends during the war, especially Agamemnon. Okay, because you know the background story, Helen of Troy and all these things. Now, after the war, his journey back home, that is the journey, the Odyssey. So his name is Ulysses. Now, his journey is not so easy. Okay, his journey is never easy, right? He goes through a lot of problems, he comes through many things, and that's what inspired Tennyson to write this wonderful poem. For example, he goes through death eating, huge snakes, sirens. Hearing the voice, you will stay there and you will die. So many things. That's awesome storytelling, by the way. Okay, if you have time, you can go and read Odysseus. Not the poem, there are retellings of it, so you can just go and read it. But I just want to focus on this one. Now, Ulysses had come home. He had achieved everything. He had fought. Even God was against him, but he had fought Poseidon and he had come back to the town, his own place, Ithaca. Now he's an old man. He's with his wife and his son Telemachus. Now, how many of you think success should be? We should all go follow our dreams when we are just young. How many of you think only when we are young we should follow our dreams? I don't think like that. When we are really young, we should start going after our dreams. Yes? Or can we wait for some more time? Okay, so this is what happens. Now, Ulysses is an old man and he had seen so many things. He had gone through an adventurous comfort, but still he's not very happy. Okay, yes, very good. It's just a number. Yes, I understand that. Now, what happens is Ulysses is still thinking of going and doing something extraordinary. He's very old now, but still he's looking at the sea and thinking about the sailors and thinking, I should go. What is over the horizon? I want to know more. He's seeking. Okay, so that is one thing. And practically, when we talk about it, I think in a practical sense, how many of you know Colonel Sanders, the guy who founded KFC? Colonel Sanders, anyone? Who founded KFC? Okay, he was 65 years old. He was not a young man. He was 65 years old, and that's when he took this chicken recipe and went 2,000 houses until he could sell it. 2,000 houses. Can you imagine? Not one house, 2 houses. 2,000 houses. He went, and finally he was able to sell his recipe. And now it's almost a great big multi-million-dollar company, right? KFC. But the one who started was 65 years old. Now you can relate Ulysses. Okay. Now this poem ends with to strive, to seek, to find, and not to. If you know the work properly, then you can appreciate Ulysses better. The god Poseidon wants to destroy him. Poseidon is the god of the sea. There are so many problems that he's faced with, but still he never gives up. He fights. He has a goal. He wants to get to his wife. That's all he cares about. He wants to stay alive. So from him, we can understand one lesson. Even though he's a king, he took care of his men, and then he was determined on his goal. He wanted to reach it no matter what the obstacle was. From this, young people can learn one thing. Set a goal. Obviously, when you set a goal, you're going to have a lot of problems. People are going to tell you can't do this, you can't achieve that. Your own self will question, are you able to achieve this? Can you do it? Sometimes our own selves are the enemy. So this epic, we can understand that. So, but no matter what, Ulysses goes ahead, finds a way, things are on the way, solves the issue, gets to the goal. So to strive, to seek, to find, he's striving, seeking, is to find things, but never to eat. No matter what, don't give up. That's the lesson. If you have a goal, don't give up. Keep going to it. Keep fighting against it. Hit the wall again and again until you make a way and get through it. So that's the biggest lesson we can all learn from Ulysses' poem as well as the character Ulysses himself. So first we have said carpe diem, what about grit? And then never ever eat, never give up on your goals, on your dreams. Keep going. That's a practical advice from literature as such. And they had done it. Many people had done it. Okay. Now, of course, just two more things and I'm going to finish it up. Now, seasons. Okay. If somebody tells winter is always going to be winter forever, we all tend to make these mistakes. When we are in a certain mood, we feel that it's permanent. But is it true? The question, we tell ourselves, no, that, oh, my life is always going to be like this. No, eventually it's not going to be that way. Because season itself teaches us it's not that way. Every time it cannot rain. Maybe life right now it's raining. Maybe we have problems, maybe things are going wrong, but that does not mean it's going to rain throughout. We are not living in Narnia. Narnia situation you have seen, right? There's perpetual winter. The witch has put a perpetual winter, and winter is always there. But that's not reality. Reality will follow natural laws. We will have summer, we will have winter, we will have summer, spring, always. So for this, a wonderful example is Phoebe Shelley's Go to the West. It's just an awesome poem where he talks about life. Now you need to know a background context so you can actually understand the poem better. For example, Shelley had written a work called Revolt Islam. He thought it would become a great success because he worked for a long time, but it was completely a failure. The people gave harsh reviews. He was completely upset about it. So he goes to his house, does like outdoor garden or something. He goes to the woods. He sits there under a tree and he is so sad. And that time, a gentle wind passes him by. He could feel the cold wind. And then he immediately realizes it's time for the west wind. The west wind is just coming, that season. So he was so inspired that he wrote that, oh, while the west wind, thou breath of autumn being. Okay, when autumn comes, you are the breath of it, right? So it's just starting it. So he keeps on comparing himself to many things in the time. I'm not going to go into it. If you have time, you can go and read it and enjoy it. I'm just worried about the conclusion of that thing. Okay. So he keeps comparing himself to a leaf where the wind carries him and puts him on a thorn. A beautiful imagery there. Okay. But he's just pleading to this wind, take me away, take me somewhere else. Okay, I don't want this life. Take me like a cloud. Make me fly and all these things. He's giving a lot of visuals there. But then the ending is a prophetic thing. Okay, that's what it's all about. So we have seen life cannot remain the same, right? And obviously it's a mistake to think you'll always be happy. That is also true. Okay? It's never going to be happiness always, never going to be sadness always. So that also you should understand. Sometimes it's winter, sometimes it's summer. Sometimes when summer is there, like the ants, save it up because winter is surely coming, right? So now look at this last two lines. I put it on the last two passages. The trumpet of prophecy, O wind. He's telling a prophecy is something that will happen in the future. Okay, So winter comes, can spring be far behind? Simple line, but the philosophy is beautiful. If winter comes, of course, my winter is here, my poem is neglected, I feel like a failure poet, but will spring come? Of course, spring will come. It's just right behind it. If winter comes, can spring be far behind? No, it cannot. It's going to come. It will always come. So right now you might be having problems. Right now, so many things might happen at a particular time in your life and like that, but that doesn't mean it's ending. Of course, spring is on the way. It's coming, and you are going to achieve things. So that is the lesson we can learn from Old Spring. No matter what happens from his own life, Shelley's own life. Now, how funny is that, right? After almost 200, 300 years, still we are talking about his work. We don't talk about revolt to Islam, do we? But we do talk about what is the West, right? That was just a passing moment for him. What if he said, no, I am a failure, I would never write this? If he was not failure, we would never have thought what is the West, right? So that failure gave such a beautiful work to us. And from this, we can learn that seasons will change and we have to be ready for it. In the summer, we have to grasp it, we have to enjoy it, okay? And when winter comes, be considerate. That's also a biblical philosophy where the wonderful Job says, will I not receive goodness in the same hands, also sadness from the same hands? God will give both, right? So that's the philosophy. So we're going to go to the last one. So we have seen Hadrin, we have seen grit, we have seen never give up. Ulysses is to reach a goal, and finally we have seen the seasons. And this, I have put two more, but I don't think we have enough time for it. Okay, the last one, that is, excuse me. Let me go to kindness. Last one. I think it's enough. So, simple last question to you guys. Okay. A person is wrong. You know he's wrong. He had done wrong mistakes. But you can actually, you have two options. Either you can correct them or you can forgive them. Which is the most easiest thing? This is the most easiest thing. Anyone? If some person had done something wrong, a mistake, they have hurt you, all mistakes, right? It's easier for you to forgive them, or is it easier for you to condemn them? Which is easier to do? Yes, obviously, a human nature is to condemn people. But here is this wonderful work called Wonder by Pablos. It's a beautiful novel where the boy is having a kind of a face which is grotesque. People cannot see the face. Everybody mocks at him for having such a face. But still, he learns a valuable lesson. When given the choice between being right or being kind, sometimes you know you're right. But if you're given a choice between being right or being kind, always choose to be kind. Because we don't know, right? People are all full of mistakes. We all make mistakes. But being kind to people is one of the greatest things. It's easy to condemn things, condemn people. It's easy to find out mistakes and all these things. Okay? But to be kind to them, you can say, I know I'm right, but still I value this relationship more. So you can actually, agree to it. So when given the choice between being right or being kind, always choose it. That novel really emphasizes. But boy His friends mock him, they put him down, they tease him. There's a movie too. You can go and watch the movie Wonder. Okay? But still, the boy is always taking a stand of being kind rather than being right. That's a wonderful novel. I hope you can go see the movie as well as read the novel. From all these things, we are always learning. Literature is always teaching us practical lessons. So whenever you have a choice, be kind, take this day, be the best, work on this day, achieve things, go for it, all these things. So we have learned some lessons in the short time, whatever I can. I have tried to cover it. There are many things I gotta say, but out of time, no, and too much of information. At least you take one idea from this that would make it as successful as this as possible. So, if you have any, so one last thing is that follow these lessons. Don't just listen and leave it off, but practically follow them. They are supposed to be practical in the sense. And I'll see you in great heights one day. Keep doing it, keep achieving. Life is strive, seek, and never yield for anything else. We're all studying in an awesome college with awesome faculty. I thank all the teachers for giving me this opportunity. I thank wonderful Anita ma'am. She was a lecturer at that time, and like she used to love poems. She used to write poems. Even ma'am was writing a lot of works. It's kind of therapy for many of us, right? The words, we put them into words. So we can also learn from literature how to handle life, how to live life, all these things. Of course, an academic rigorous look at works is important, but at the end of the day, we're all humans. We need to have life lessons too, right? So that's what I tried to do here. I hope you have a great year ahead. This is a tough time, Corona and all these things, but literature is always teaching us. No matter what problem comes, we are facing. So I hope you will all achieve, and may God bless you all. Have a great year, and thank you guys for listening. And if you have any doubts or anything, you can, if you have any questions, you can post it in the chat and try to answer. Thank you guys. Thanks so much. If you have any questions, you can ask. I hope it was useful. Thank you. Yes, what should be a first and foremost thing that should empathize with? Now, literature itself is empathy, right? So fiction, basically, that's what it teaches you guys. So I'm reading all these characters, I know how they feel, and in real life, I'm meeting a person and I understand how they feel. Now, as a guy, I would not really understand how women go through life, what are their problems, but I keep reading feminist novels. Then obviously I understand after marriage what are their wants, like how do they feel at home, like they also have feelings, they also want to go to work, they also want to be they also want to feel secure, they want to, all these things, how will I understand? Just the fiction teaches me, right? The fiction part helps me to empathize with that person. How do they feel? If I read a war novel and I read about a soldier, he gets killed, his family is torn out, I can empathize on the situation, I can understand. So while you're reading more fiction works, more novels, anything literary work for matter, right? You tend to empathize with people. You walk on their shoes. You understand how they go through all those things because you just get into others' thoughts, right? And how do you empathize? Obviously, naturally, you know how people feel, respect, kindness. You can consider the situation, right? Any other questions? Yes, that's a very good question. Application of theory. Now, you should understand it's a theory. Okay, that is a, that word theory itself doesn't mean it's reality. It's not truth. You should understand that it's not truth. They are just theories. Okay, it's just a lens from the way I look at things, class discrimination and everything. Now, literature has always been used as a tool of reformation as such, right? For example, it might not mean much to people, but it does its work, at least partially it helps. Obviously, we need politicians, we need people who bridge that gap, we need to bring in laws and all these things. But literature does its part. One good example would be the American Revolution, right? And Thomas More was writing the books, like it was these guys wanted what to say freedom, and they were putting in all their ideas and all these things in books. When people were reading it, they were all like inspired. They were telling like we want to get freedom from this tax and all these things. Then an army was formed. Then they fought against the British. Then they got the freedom. How? Because literature helped. That work helped. Uh, some works in certain countries are so valuable that could change. For example, in China, the thoughts of Mao, it started like a fanatic followers of China. Why? The literature was indoctrinating. So literature as such, no, they can use it in any way they want. Of course, the gap between feminists, the gap between the text and life can only be filled by that person. Okay, there's no other way. People, we cannot force people to do it. But literature is actually, you have written a wonderful work. You want to do great things, but how many people will read it and after that follow it? That's all the question, right? So until we all come to the same plane, until people respect literature as such, they're never going to close that gap. But eventually, in a compounding way, it will impact life. If Wollstonecraft did not write Vindication of Women's Rights, women might not have got their right to vote now. Just now we all voted. Women would not have got their vote, but before 300 years, women sat and wrote a work. That started it. That started the thought process, right? Class discrimination. If, for example, Uncle Tom's Cabin would not have been written, or some wonderful black literature would not have written, right? Class discrimination would have kept on following, right? Racism would have followed. But then it was an eye-opener, and we have seen a black president, right? So literature might not directly impact life as such, but it does its work in a subtle way. Okay. Thank you for this wonderful questions, guys. It means you're all thinking. You're just not, you're not blind followers of what is being taught. That's what literature students are all about. You question things. We are different. Any other questions?
Nipa, Rameshwaran,
Yes, ma'am.
yes, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others. Gratitude opens the door to power, the wisdom, the creativity of the universe. I invite or Taragapriya of 2nd MA English Literature to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thankfulness is the beginning of gratitude. Gratitude is the completion of thankfulness. Thankfulness may consist merely of words. Gratitude is shown in actions. I am immensely pleasure in extending hopeful gratitude to the chief guest, Mr. D. Ronald Hadrin, sir, on behalf of our department, by sharing us your words of wisdom and by sharing us several catchy lines from our different poems like I am a master of my fate, I am a captain of my soul. It really boosted up, sir. Thank you, sir. My oblique gratitude to a head of the department, Ms. Yasmin ma'am, who has been a constant support and one who gives us a lot of encouragement. Thank you, ma'am. I extend my sincere thanks to our department faculty member who are always guiding us in the right path. I thank our student friends for patient listening and worthy involvement. My special note of thanks to our technical team for making available with sequential presentation beyond all odds. I wholeheartedly thank everyone for making this occasion a great success. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for your enlightening speech, sir. And thanks to all teachers and students for making this event successful one. I thank the chief guest and with the permission of dignitaries, I wind up the session. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, you may all leave the hall, ma'am. Something like this. All of you may leave the meeting now.